So I can say yes, since inception, we've done over 1 million deliveries. We've worked with almost every popular e-commerce platform. I'm proud of the fact that we've actually changed people's lives.
Hello, everyone. We have Amanda, CEO and co-founder of Messenger. Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you for coming. Obviously, I know this was a busy schedule for you, so I apologize.
Happy to be here. It's the holidays, so I'm in a particularly cheerful and giving mood. So.
Well, thank you. So please tell me, what's Messenger?
Messenger is my current baby. That's a way to just put it in summary. But what I would say Messenger is, just to explain to a layman, is that we are the support system behind logistics operators and gig workers in Africa. So that might seem very vague, but in essence, we provide two-wheelers, that's motorcycles, and operating loans to logistics operators, and then we connect them to various platforms across the country for the local deliveries. So basically, if you are, looking for a job, something quick to do, we'll hook you up with your bike, plug you into our Messenger app or any of the numerous food delivery platforms that we have now.
Wow, that's amazing. So before we go into Messenger, right, we want to know obviously about you. You went to school to be a pharmacist, right?
Yes.
So how did you transition from being a pharmacist over to running a really big, amazing company like Messenger?
We're very much upcoming, just to mention.
Okay.
We're very, very far from where we're looking at getting to, even in the next year, in the next 12 months, where we see ourselves. We're quite far from there. But yes, so this is one of the most commonly asked questions for me, that how did I go from pharmacy to doing logistics? And I would say that everything is connected. So you might, start off with one thing and then you find that whatever you're doing is applicable for the next phase of your life. But to answer the question, I always wanted to work in, a role that allowed me have great impact, or to work across sectors. And with pharmacy, I felt like I was very much streamlined to the health sector, and I was looking for some form of education that allowed me branch into FMCG, e-commerce, even oil and gas if I chose to do that. So I went on and did a master's in global supply chain and logistics management. I would say that I had a lot of foresight to choose supply chain, because this was as far back as 2016. So it wasn't as popular as you would say supply chain and logistics right now. So one of the good things about the pandemic is people saw how important supply chains were. So normally nobody cared about where their tissue paper was coming from, but all of a sudden in 2020, how everything got on shelves, how everything got everywhere, supply chain became like a major competitive factor for companies.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I went through that journey too, trying to find tissue paper.
I know.
You're also an author.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, if you want to talk about that just a little bit.
Okay, so someone might be listening to this interview and just be like, okay, so jack of all trades, master of none, or what is it that you really do? So I would say that I have a lot of passions and things that I like to do, and hobbies as well. So just to mention, I'm not an author for money. I'm not like professional right now. I have in pandemic released an ebook about starting a delivery company in Nigeria, which was, I think, moderately successful. A lot of people were starting the business at the time, so people were looking for guidance. In Nigeria, there was no movement, and that was the only industry that was really working. So lots of people made quick money, just the same way like selling face masks. And I thought, how could I be a part of this? And I decided to go into creating content. So I created an ebook. I had like a series of webinars that were sold in the pandemic when people were home, and then, just for them to learn how to structure their delivery companies. So yes, apart from that, I've written young adult fiction as well. Just some inspiration taken from parts of my life, and then a lot of fiction, and then under a different pen name, just so I don't confuse a lot of people about who's really Amanda Etuk and what's my, my core message to the public. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually amazing. So Messenger, let's talk about Messenger. I would like to know pretty much the challenges that you faced, and how did you go from, just the idea phase and becoming CEO? I know you have a co-founder as well.
Yeah.
If you want to talk a little bit about that story.
Okay. I would say that I didn't start out to be the CEO of Messenger. Messenger is my brother Essien's idea. So at the time when I was rounding off my postgrad, Essien came to me and said he wanted funding for his new business. And of course, because I'm the older, wiser sister, I say this every time, you always think that your siblings are looking for great ideas to take money off you. And I just thought, why logistics all of a sudden? Is it because I'm, studying logistics? Does this just fit into something that I would be interested in funding? And he was very serious about the business. He had a different name for it at the time that I thought was ridiculous. He wanted to call it Errand Boy. And right from time, I wanted any business that we would do to have international appeal, and Errand Boy just wasn't it. So we came up with Messenger. At the time, I was still very much within the corporate world. So it was basically Essien's business. And as we went on, we needed funding. I would fund the projects. I would do lots of introductions. I noticed, what is my stake in this business? I just said, oh no, but you're just being a nice big sister. And that was my first introduction to having clear, founders agreements, shareholders agreements, everything being discussed in the open. We went past that phase where I went from just being a sister to being a proper investor and having shares in the company, to eventually working full time and then coming in as CEO of Messenger. And one thing I would really like to say that is kudos to my co-founder is that for us, the objective or our final destination is bigger than any one of us ego. It was his business, it was his idea, and he felt that I would be a better person to lead the company and he would manage operations, and that's how I became CEO.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really rare in certain
aspects. It is, but
that's amazing.
When people say, oh, how is it working with your brother? I think because of the relationship that we have, where we're able to be very honest and make decisions that are the best for the business. I know that this is, will I say, VC terrain or startup, but we really see our business outlasting us. A lot of people don't like to hear that, but we want to build something that is beyond just Amanda and Essien. We want something that lasts the test of time. So we, if you've ever used Messenger, you might get a message from a welcome from Axel from Messenger. So Axel is my 2-year-old nephew. So we want to build something that the next generation can be a part of, something that is as much a legacy business as much as it is a testament to what it is that we're building right now. So that's how we see Messenger. And yeah, challenges, they're everywhere, and I think it's tougher because logistics is one of those things that no matter how much technology you put into it, what sort of systems or it runs on this stack, is you have to deal with people. You can't take away people from the operations. And that's something that's really important. It's important and is also a hindrance. It means that as perfect as your technology is, your processes, you still have to deal with people. And that's as much a blessing as it is a challenge.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So already being in logistics, it's very challenging everywhere, but most especially in Africa and then in Nigeria. I could go on and on about all the problems that we face in logistics in Nigeria, but we've chosen to face just one of those problems, which is in the last couple of years, a lot of logistics companies have sprung up. They've come in very fast, very fancy, and in a few months, they're nowhere to be found. And that's because you're still dealing with people, and then you're still dealing with assets that become very quickly depreciated. And then that's what Messenger is doing now. We're solving for a continuous supply of people and assets to carry out the jobs. So now we give someone a bike. we know that very soon as their demand grows, they might need a second one. And then we know that because it's very tough in the country, you might need money for fuel for the week. And then that's where we come in. Of course, there's an access fee because, it's not charity. And then how we charge a 5% access fee, 1% per week. That sounds like a lot to people maybe in our social class, but that's just for 20K, giving out, disbursing 19K, and someone is paying 3,000 for every day that they work. So that's a huge help to people who actually carry out deliveries. Because there's a stopgap between if you're working with big companies, when they pay you, and then obviously you need to continue running operations. And we decided to solve for what was the biggest problem as we scaled.
I think that's really interesting. If we can touch a little bit about that. Two things, right?
Yeah.
One, working with B2B, right? And the payments process around that. After you've delivered jobs for them, what is that time frame? Is it instantaneous, or is it a certain period of overtime that you get paid, right? So that's the first part. Second, in order to grow, obviously you need funding, right?
Yeah.
As you continue to grow and scale, you need funding. What's the business looks like, the logistics business, in terms of outside investors coming in and investing in this space?
Okay. So just to mention first, B2B is always better than B2C. A lot of us are not loyal, and that's fine. If you start a logistics company, a food delivery business, anything you start, people like the new shiny guys that give a lot of discounts. And as we've seen from a lot of closures, is that you really still have to pay for services. You can't out-innovate a sector when you're not paying. You have to pay your dues some way or the other. We've seen that, yes, there's innovation, there's technology. A lot of companies have stayed unprofitable because it just didn't make sense to offer that level of service at the certain amount that it was being done for. I'm sure that without mentioning any names, there are a lot of popular brands come to mind. You want to out-innovate a sector, but the sector is the way it is because things have to be paid for. It's just what it is. So you can't be on a continuous burn just to achieve, widespread product market fit. At some point, you need to charge adequately for your services. Right. So that's one thing. I would say that for B2B, for us, we've built a lot of long-term relationships. And one of the things that I'm proud of is our retention rate. I always tell people that nobody 100% loves their logistic provider. And if you get to a certain customer satisfaction level, then you're doing okay, because it's a very tough crowd to please. So for us, we have longer term relationships, but that also comes with its drawbacks, meaning that we would have to discount the service and maybe wait for a 30-day payment cycle. Yeah. So that's where the need for funds comes in, because you're going to buy fuel every day. You're going to pay that person riding that bike. That bike is going to break down. You're going to need maintenance. So yeah, there's a lot to do. There's a lot that goes on in between. And in terms of funding, a lot of people are afraid to fund logistics companies, and I don't think they should. We just need a bigger war chest to actually tackle the problems, because it's not for a lack of customers. It's not for a lack of a need. It's an essential service. People are always going to transport goods. People are always going to move about. It's things that are always necessary. So it's more like, have we actually invested enough to tackling this problem? Yes, people are able to have wins with smaller investments or with different sectors, but in logistics, for us to get this right, we do have to spend a good amount of money on it.
Let's talk about Abuja and the Messenger in Abuja.
Yeah.
Obviously, Messenger is really big in Abuja. I don't know if you can talk about how you really created that space and grew that.
So one of the things I'm really proud of is anyone who visits Abuja, you can't go 2 days without seeing a Messenger bike. So just in case you don't know how it looks now, it's a white box with a red M. Very simple and very recognizable. So we're everywhere in Abuja, and that's because we've been there for a long time. Was also a strategy for us at the beginning. It's something that I still think about if it was the right move or not, if I'm being honest. So our idea was tackle secondary cities. We're thinking if we face secondary cities, we can be the leaders there, and then we can later expand, because the amount of money that you need to capture a secondary city is way less than what you need to capture a city like Lagos, for instance. So that was the strategy at the time. But in hindsight, I have different opinions about that right now. I feel like the work to crack any market is almost same. And if you can crack the most difficult one, then it's actually easier to go into smaller markets.
Yeah.
So now in hindsight, that's how I feel about it. But I'm still, very much appreciative of the journey. We are like the number one brand in Abuja. I have a lot of pride in that. But these are my learnings so far. People say if you're going to eat frog, eat frog. So like if you're going to battle something, like you might as well get the toughest thing out of the way.
Yeah.
So that's what. So I have a a twisted relationship with the fact that we're very big in Abuja, because we do need to expand to bigger markets. We do need to deepen our penetration. Also, how far do we want to go? So I like it. Like Abuja gave us a sane environment. The infrastructure is better. I think one of the reports that Bolt published for last year, they had the most rides in the city of Abuja, and I can tell you why. You would complete 2 rides in the time that you might complete 1.5 in Lagos. So that's one of the strategies that we employed, and we were happy to maintain Abuja as our headquarters. But the spending power is different. People think, okay, there's more money in Abuja. It's very different. What people are willing to, the habits also, spending habits, what people are willing to pay for in Lagos is very different from what they're willing to pay for in Abuja.
Yeah, yep, that's true. What are those key success stories that you would say, wow, I'm happy that we can talk about it, and
Okay.
Also Messenger, as Messenger grows, what is your strategy around scaling, continue to go ahead and dominate the market space?
Where to start from now? Now that I got 2 questions at once. First of all, we're still going through it. It's not imposter syndrome. I just feel like we're still going through it. Like, when people say, oh, how is it? I'm going through a lot. I haven't come back from the journey just yet. We're very much in the trenches right now. We're not at that point where I can say, okay, yes, we've done this. When I hear or when I watch testimonials from our riders, it's very touching for me. So as human beings, we don't really notice when we have a change. Let me sound Christian. We have a change in level. Like, you don't notice when you've kind of moved from one lifestyle class or one social class to another. It's very gradual. So there's that as well, the way that things have changed. And it's only from our riders' eyes that we're able to see that and really, take cognizance of that fact. We hear people saying, oh, I worked at this company, I've moved from a studio to a 1-bed, I've gotten married, I have children now.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
when you hear that, or somebody saying, I went back to school, I've made money enough to do this, I made money, I opened a shop for my wife. Like, it just sounds, I think I get a lot of fulfillment hearing that, because there are real people behind each of the numbers.
Yeah.
So I can say, yes, since inception, we've done over 1 million deliveries. We've, long-standing partners for Jumia Food in Abuja. We've actually worked with them for the 6 years that we've been in operation in Abuja.
Wow.
So I'm really proud of that. We've worked with almost every popular e-commerce platform. So those are things I'm proud of, but I'm proud of the fact that we've actually changed people's lives.
You also implemented some types of benefits to your drivers.
Yeah.
One of it was healthcare.
Yes.
Which is actually really amazing. I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that.
We're still working on extras, but we have health insurance that's in partnership with Wella Health. So for less than 1,000 naira a month, they have access to malaria treatment and drugs from pharmacies across the country. So I think that's really great for us. A lot of people on the lower end of the pyramid don't believe in insurance. Most of them are not insured, but just being able to provide basic care, I think that's something that is awesome. We're still going to do a lot of education around that, because people will be afraid to actually go into the pharmacy and be like, oh, I'm not paying for this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much these drugs are going to be like. So we still have to talk a lot more on it, but we're very happy that we've been able to provide that, and the partnership is great for us.
Yeah, personally for me, I think for you to even see that space and really offer that as a benefit, I think it only says a lot about, obviously the CEO and what the company represents and how they really take care of, the contractors or employees that work with them. So I think that's really amazing.
Thank you.
From your aspect. Okay, so where do you see Messenger going? What is your vision for Messenger?
You know how I have a lot of illustrations for things. So you know how it's so easy now that everybody has a mobile phone, everyone can buy data. I just want it to be easy for people who are unemployed to have something to do that is decent and provides a way for them to make money. So I want it to be so structured in a way that, okay, I'm unemployed now. I know that I can get a decent wage by doing deliveries. I don't have money to buy a bike, but I can do this for no matter how short the period is and make some money. I don't have to steal. I don't have to extort anyone. I can actually do this for a while.
Correct.
So I want it to be that easy to be able to have. One thing that people run to, will I say, the diaspora for is how you can have gigs that you can live on.
Yeah.
So I would want people to be able to survive here regardless. So that means expanding from Abuja, having more impact in other major cities across Nigeria and Africa. We're particularly interested in Francophone Africa.
One more thing that I wanted to touch on. You're from Akwa Ibom.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And you're also part of the Akwa Ibom Tech Week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you want to talk about that?
So that's very interesting for me because now I've become like a self-appointed ambassador for everything Akwa Ibom. And for me, how the whole thing started is we're looking for another secondary city to expand to. And we started asking questions, what would be the best city to go to? And my brother said, what about Akwa Ibom? I was like, why Akwa Ibom? He's like, why not Akwa Ibom? So we started doing our research about obviously where we were from in terms of business. Like, is it viable? Can people go there? Can people set up? How is tech adoption there? Just basically because when people do their, let's say, market surveys or when they talk about how big is the market size, people do a map of Nigeria. And realistically, you have just 3 cities that actually bring in buck in terms of Nigeria. And the idea was, if we have more economically viable cities across the country, then we're basically expanding the market where people can actually sell things to.
Yeah, that's true.
I took it on as another problem that why don't we open up Akwa Ibom? So there are different ways that people can do that. And for us, even having these conversations, doing a lot of research, we found that a lot of tech people, generally developers, senior people across startups, a lot of them were from Akwa Ibom.
Yeah.
So the idea for us was to expose talent to opportunities. So we had a lot of thriving startups coming to attend Akwa Ibom Tech Week, which was, here's our beautiful city, here's the beautiful people that we have, and plug them in for opportunities afterwards, or just have those conversations open for exporting talent officially from Akwa Ibom. It's cheaper than Lagos, obviously, and then people can work remotely. So you have top talent at less, as a fraction of the cost that you pay in Lagos, and you have people who are really willing to work and open to opportunities. This is an official invite.
Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
just mark your calendars. So in October,
sure.
end of October, we'd love to have you in Akwa Ibom.
I would love to come. I would definitely do.
All right.
But thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And Amanda, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming.
Don't worry, I'll hold you to it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.